Hey everyone, I'm just gonna grab a second for you guys to all jump in. I am Shannon Bobo, and I am so excited to be on PAVE's site right now, just giving love and giving all the attention that is necessary for everything that's going on. Just so excited. And I'm Shannon Bobo. I'm host of At Home with Shannon Bobo that you can find daily on Facebook Live and then later on YouTube. But today I am honored to be having this conversation about Black Lives Matter and shattering the silence of sexual violence with an amazing business leader, a woman who's also a PAVE ambassador, and a star of the Real Housewives of Potomac, Karen Huger. We're just going to be waiting for her to get on just in just a second, but just a little bit of background. There's a lot of unrest and a lot of things going on. And the most important thing is for us to continuously be having dialogue. And so that's the main reason why we're going to be having Karen on to discuss everything that's been going on. I don't know about you, but I've been in quarantine for 90 days now. Not always quarantined in the same home. Sometimes I go other places, but for the most part, been locked down, not working since then. And a lot of unrest has been going on. For example, sexual assault has been on the rise and domestic violence also on the rise, and people need refuge and help. So in just a few minutes, we'll have Karen on to discuss the state of the union, basically the state of what's been happening in our world, and then we're gonna discuss solutions. That's one thing to have dialogue, and it's another thing to start talking about solutions. So without further ado, we have business leader, PAVE ambassador, and star of Real Housewives of Potomac, Karen Huger, coming up in just a second. I'm so excited to have her on here. Just really excited that the impact that someone like her can have on what we're up to. So
That's
it's the
it.
perfect. Oh, hi. Thank you
Hi,
for being
Shannon. How are
on.
you?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, you look beautiful and fabulous as always.
And so do you.
Oh, thank
We got
you.
to keep up our self-esteem while we're going through such difficult times. So bear
Absolutely.
along with me.
Hmm.
We have a good connection, but rather shaky, but we'll make it through.
Yes, we will. Yeah. Again, you mentioned self-care. We're definitely going to dive into that
Absolutely.
um, throughout this conversation. But let's just get right into it. Like, what has it been like for you in COVID quarantine and the rise of sexual assault and domestic violence as a result? So let's just get right down to it.
Well, most people know I've been very transparent on my wonderful platform with Bravo to share my story of having been sexually assaulted. And I've been an ambassador for over 4 years. And to watch COVID and the pandemic and sexual assault still continue at the same time, really butting heads, it has shaken me to the core. Because
Hmm.
as you know, COVID is a pandemic that has sentenced us to shelter ourselves at home. And
Yes.
what if you are to shelter yourself at home and there you are with your abuser?
Yes. Hmm.
I think we need to shed the light on that. I think we need to talk about what we can do to help those who are trapped and being abused during the pandemic in their own homes.
Yes. And how do you think COVID has affected the Black community specifically?
Let's just talk about that for a minute.
Yeah,
It's
let's
many
break it down.
layers. It's many layers to it when you talk
Hmm.
about sexual assault because it's taboo in the Black community. We just, are now gaining a voice, and then the pandemic hits us. I feel that it really depends on people like yourself and myself sharing our story, letting those who know that who've been attacked that they are not alone, but they pretty much are feeling that they are the voiceless in
Yeah.
this time with the pandemic, with Black Lives Matters. You know, shattering the silence, victims matter too. So,
Absolutely.
and when we say shattering the silence, hashtag shattering the silence, we are not just talking about a man, a grown man or a grown woman. Can we touch, Shannon, on those children who are being sexually abused in the home that they've been told that they
Hmm.
have to now shelter in?
Hmm.
Um, I'm doing everything I can to get that number out there, 1-800-656-HOPE, to let them know that they are not alone. But there are children who are very young that are being abused. And so this is where our community our community, even while we're going through Black Lives Matters, really is important because we have to look out for our children who have no voice right now. We are
Yeah.
their voice. We are their eyes. We are their ears. And my call to arms is to all adults who may know of a child that's being abused at this moment in this pandemic and sees no way out. Be that voice for that child. Pick up that phone. Call shatterthesilence.org.
Mm-hmm.
Call your minister. I don't want to get all over. We got so much to
Yes, because
go
it's,
through.
I mean, yeah, we have so much more to discuss. I mean, I am a survivor as a little girl. I'm the little girl you just described was exactly me. And when I think about the impact that that's having on that little girl right now, like everything that she sees, like Black Lives Matter, and then she becomes even more voiceless because she then can't speak about what's happening to her because it's, because her abuser could be a Black person. So it's
Absolutely.
just, it's so many layers to this that are being unraveled right now. And what do you think some of the barriers of Black survivors may face as a result of like having their voice or speaking up?
Well, that's it, having their voice.
Mm,
Will they give them a voice? Is there a voice? But I'm here to say there is a voice, okay?
yeah,
All we have to do is listen. I think it's having people believe us. But see, they're not alone. We are not alone. We have a community that we can reach out to. When we talk about, sexual assault, it's about education. And
yeah,
right now, you and I are educating those who will tune in and who will listen because there is that little girl out there that needs our help or that little boy that needs our help. And the challenge is to call to arms the adults that can protect these children.
yeah.
Um, and, as you said, we have so much information to cover. I'll let you lead me on that. That's hard for me to let people do. I'm like,
Yes,
let me get
right.
in there because I'm
Well,
passionate
because
about
there's
this.
so many things happening all at once. We have COVID, we have Black
Yes.
Lives Matter, we have a rise of sexual assault and violence. Like, um, for one, like how the fact that there's so many people dying and it's a higher number of Black people
Oh,
being
yeah.
affected by COVID. So that's
Right.
number one. So we're
Right.
just looking at that. That's number one. Um, and um,
Mm.
what type of light can you shed regarding that?
Well, you know as well as I do that we are disproportionately dying. The
Mm,
Black folks are dying in much higher rates than white folk. Let's just be very clear about that. But it is because we are socioeconomically depressed. It's where we live. Think about it. We have smaller homes, and we often live 3 generations to a small space. And then we have the grandmother, the son, the children, and we can't protect our elders because we don't have proper living spaces for
hmm
the elders. I hope I'm staying on topic here because I'm very passionate about it. And like you said, it's a lot to cover, but I feel that we are dying simply because we don't have health care in our neighborhoods.
hmm
We don't have grocery stores in our neighborhoods that are up to standard that can take care of us during a pandemic such as this.
And
Um,
healthy choices.
healthy
Again,
choices.
when we're armed, when doctors are armed with the choice of who do we help first? I don't know
Oh,
if they're going for helping that Black person first that's during COVID.
yeah,
So that
let's
could
just
be
talk.
another part.
Let's just talk about it, the
Mm-hmm.
systemic racism in place that prohibits them from doing the simple thing that is right. But I'm betting on the human race to do what is right because now we are at a pivotal moment in history where it's not going to go away anymore. Martin Luther King, my mother raised us, my father raised us, understanding the importance of that march. That march continues today.
Yes,
So
it does.
now, but it's a different march if you think about it, because it's not going to go to sleep for about, a few years and say, oh, I'm happy with what we got. No, we now understand this is an ongoing thing. We have to address this systemic racism. We have to dismantle it. And we have to take care of all communities, including and especially the black communities now,
Yeah,
because we
absolutely.
are disproportionately disadvantaged because
hmm
of systemic racism. And we are too good of a human race to let this continue.
And how has it affected you personally? For example,
Mm.
when you started, have you been getting more calls from your Caucasian friends saying, now I get it, now I understand. I didn't understand before, but now I do.
I wish I could tell you that all of my Caucasian friends get it. Some people are still learning, and that's
Mhm.
my job as their friend and being on this platform to educate them, to bring them along. And this is not a fix that's going to happen overnight. This
No,
is a long journey we have in front of us, and I'm not weary. How about you? I'm
I'm
ready.
not. I'm
I'm
ready.
ready.
I mean, this is, we got to think about it. It's been hundreds and hundreds of years of
It
oppression.
has.
It's not going to be fixed by just a couple of marches and peaceful
No.
protests.
Well, let's talk about that. I love the marches. My daughter is an activist. She marched. I'm
Good.
so proud of her. My choice was to use my platform and to, do what it is that I do to get the mass to the frontliners. But
Hmm.
we need everybody helping one another because, and everyone doing their part in this pandemic and this Black Lives Matters movement because nothing's going to change if we don't do the work. And we have a
Yeah.
lot of work to do. And what a wonderful gift to be given in the middle of a pandemic. Black Lives Matter, unfortunately, is now, but fortunately, on the front line and on the tips of everyone's tongues. Let's
Yes.
use that moment to affect a change. And don't be lazy. Don't say, well, I don't do marches. Okay, what do you do? Do you
Yes, exactly.
do you print a flyer?
Hmm.
Can you call your congressman? Can you study the law so you know who you're putting in power this November 3rd? We got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we do. And
Yeah.
just a short amount of time, and I want to make sure we get it all covered. What kind of things have you been telling your friends when they ask you, what can I do? What can I do, Karen? What can I do, me as an individual, to help this cause? What have you been telling them?
Educate yourself.
Educate.
Educate yourself.
Hmm.
We were asleep. Everyone loves to think that racism just went away. No, it did not. No,
Yeah.
it did not. It just laid underneath a layer of tolerance. Okay, it was always there, and now it's on. Again, the forefront again, as it should be. But I tell my friends to become active, educate yourself, become active, and if you have a change of heart, and I can honestly say I do have some friends who are of the Caucasian persuasion who don't agree with Black Lives Matter, and because they don't get it. I'm not saying that no one else lives matter, but at this particular moment, in this time where Blacks are at a disproportionate death rate in this pandemic, can you not see that our Black lives matter? It matters
Yes.
that we have proper health care. It matters that we have, healthy food choices. It matters that we get paid the same wage so we can afford the same type of healthy lifestyle you're providing for your family. So that's the argument, or not argument. It's a discussion, and it's very heated, to be
The
honest with you.
dialogue is so necessary, and we're gonna keep it going no matter what, because
It's not
it can't be
comfortable.
stopped now. Like, this is
No.
our new normal, is having these uncomfortable conversations. In
Yes.
other ways, what other I was speaking to someone earlier about this very thing, about what else you can do besides the marches, besides protesting, besides the active things you can do. And what about businesses, supporting certain businesses that will that helps the cause,
Let's
or
talk
not.
about that.
Hmm.
I had an experience. I just read. I was so proud. I love. Let Let's tie this in there. The news. It's very important that you understand how to watch the news now.
Hmm.
I have never been prouder of social media. Now, being on the platform that I'm on, I fought getting on social media. I'm like, I don't really want it. I'm just going to do, the housewives and call it a day, right?
Right.
The power of social media has now pulled back the veil of the brutality of what's going on in our justice system. And it's not beautiful what we see. Um, it's heartbreaking, but it's necessary. It's necessary so that we can change the system. Um,
Because none of this would be happening right now if we didn't have access to social media. I mean,
yeah,
it's kind of a blessing and a curse, and I understand completely why. I know so many people who were so reluctant to getting on social media, but again, it's a perfect way for us to have that voice.
it's an
And
educational tool as well.
mhm,
It's a
mhm.
reality tool. as well. It's brutally realistic. I found it very difficult to watch my young Black brothers being slayed, my young sisters being slayed, but I needed to see it. Not to bathe in it, but to acknowledge that this type of brutality exists and is unacceptable.
Yeah.
And we have to all do something. And even if it's a small thing, getting out, going into communities, see if someone has enough food to make it through.
Yeah.
A food drive. There's so many people in need clothing, furniture. You would be surprised. And you talk about businesses, and let me circle back to that. Thank you for asking that.
Yeah.
I read a young Black woman's quote about Starbucks, and she said, "Oh, I think I'm going to lose my job, but I have to ask you, why will you allow us to celebrate gay pride and you have paraphernalia for us to wear, but we're being told that we can't wear a t-shirt that says Black Lives Matter?" And she said, "I know I'm risking my job." And this is a young girl. And Starbucks answered this child and said, "Listen, we are creating that for you." So I say the larger corporations need to take hold of this, like Starbucks. And yes, young folk, hold them accountable. The young generation is amazingly moving this movement forward because they're asking the questions that many have been afraid to ask. And they're getting results. Just knowing that Starbucks is going to go out there and print something that says Black Lives Matter and allows its employees to wear it.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Powerful. Is that not?
I didn't. That's news. That's brand new to me. I'm so grateful to hear that. Like,
I'm getting in on the social media thing now, and I just love what I see happening in the 20-year-old, 30-year-old, 40-year-old woman. They are taking this charge and they are leading it in such a different way, but with the same purpose as they did with Dr. Martin Luther King, to have change come about in a positive way. And I'm very proud of them. I'm proud to do whatever I can to support. And I'm working with the front lines during COVID and Black Lives Matter because I need my Black Lives Matter children to know this message. I want you to wear your mask.
Yes, right.
It ain't
Take
over
care of
yet.
Yourselves.
It ain't over yet. It ain't over yet. Use the language, but it's not.
Different language. And I, because all of this is so interconnected, because we said we have layers, we have Black Lives Matter, and then there's within the Black community, sexual assault is underreported in our community because Black Lives Matter. So that's another thing that like, what can we do to alleviate that? Like, what can we do to make sure that these voiceless people are able to have a voice and able to speak up against something that's happening to them, and also support our community and our men?
Let's think about that. We are our brother's keeper. We are our children's keeper. There is no other way to get this done but to speak on something that you're uncomfortable speaking on, which is sexual assault, sexual abuse against children. Speak loud, scream it to the rooftop if you have to. I don't care. A child is going to be very afraid to speak out. We are their voice. My eyes are open. My ears always to the street. It's, people call me Mama Karen sometimes. I used to hate that, but I love that now. So reach out to Mama Karen. If there's a problem and if I can get help to you, I will. Or if I can direct you, like I said, to shatterthesilence.org, an adult or auntie or a brother who's afraid. Honey, there's help. You're not alone. That's the key. That's what we can do. Let the children know that they're not alone. And send help. Help is on the way. We're here for you.
Yes, that's so beautiful. And what you said earlier, just jogging back too, because I want to make sure that we don't miss any point.
Sure.
Education is key. I'm amazed at how so many people knew nothing about Black Wall Street.
Why? Talk about it. Come on.
Black Wall Street was completely destroyed by racist people and also our government, and no word of it was in our history books until 1996.
Okay, and why is it up again? I'm doing the interview now, and why is that on your tip of your tongue right now?
Because because I'm just thinking about the lack of education and how something that important and so fascinating was something that we didn't get covered and we didn't know anything about until now.
Right.
So that's why it's so important to educate yourselves, like go beyond the headlines. If you read a
That's what
headline,
I'm saying.
dig deep. And then also we have Google, we have access to the most information ever in our time. And our voices are being able to be heard by having social media, by having access to pictures and videos and all this other things. So,
And by you and I having I'm sorry, by you and I having a conversation about Black Wall Street, let us talk about putting Black Wall Street back in the books so that the children in the school system can read about it. The
yes,
things that were deleted in the Black community that made us great. We had black towns before they burned them down. Okay, systemic racism. Let's talk about that. We are able to take care of ourselves. We are able to, we've proven it time and time again. However, you're right. We need to educate ourselves that this has happened. We have been a mighty people, and we still are. And we're still very capable, but we need to educate our children that they're not starting from scratch. It has been done before you. They don't have to recreate the wheel. Honey, it's here. But we now need to change systemic racism in our educational systems as well, so that children can read about that greatness, that Black Wall Street, or that Black town that was self-functioning, that Black hospital. Okay? Let's talk
yes.
about it. That Black grocery store. All of that.
And the
Now,
person who created the stoplight, it goes deeper
it
and
is
deeper.
amazing what we
It's
have done.
amazing.
And I am so proud of Americans for putting Black Lives Matter out there and on the forefront, because it actually is shining a light on an opportunity to make this country, again, the greatest place to live,
Yes.
just by acceptance of an acknowledgement of the people that make America what it is. And that includes Black lives, which matter.
Yes. I want to continue on with the education portion, but
Okay.
I want to pause to just say thank you, thank you so much for being a voice of the voiceless, for sticking up and standing up and just expressing, being a PAVE ambassador in every single way that you're doing this, for being a business leader, for being a woman that so many people can look up to in such a
Thank you.
big way. And so I want to dig back into education about, again, since we're shattering the silence,
Yes.
educating people on what consent means and what that means.
You're right. The simple word consent, what does it mean? Well, it simply means permission. But when you talk about permission, when you're dealing with intimacy, a young teenage boy, teenage girl, they meet each other. Well, he and she need to consent to, well, is it okay to kiss you? Is it okay to hold your hand? And if perhaps, let's talk about the uncomfortable thing. As a mother, I'm like, no way, no, no, no. But if it progresses, check in midway. Are you comfortable? Do I have your permission to move forward? If permission is not given, then consent is not given. And that's a no. And that's where you stop. And I think, we can educate our children as young as pre-K. PAVE is doing that. We're going into the school systems. You think about it, the corporations, we're going there as well. But when we talk about the children, we are beginning as young as pre-K to educate the children about what the word consent means. And it means permission. And I have permission to say no to you. How about that? It's a
I do not
powerful thing.
consent.
And you need messages sent, message received, and you need to respect that. And if you have a problem with that, well, I have a problem with you.
Amen. Yes, yes. And a few more things. What more ways can we support sexual assault survivors and domestic violence? Anybody who's like,
You know
what ways
what?
can we support them individually?
Individually, I mean, I'm always there. You'd be surprised how many people I say, use me. My hands are always open. And if you feel like you're shut in, DM me. These kids get it. But for those of us who cannot or can't reach Auntie Karen or what have you, I think what we have to do is certainly put out there shatterthesilence.org. And let's talk about it in our church, in our community church. The Black church is a powerful institution, and it's the rock on which I stand. Everything that I am is because I had that foundation as a Black child growing up in Sarah County, Virginia, and Union Baptist played a huge role. So sometimes you can't talk to mama, sometimes you can't talk to daddy, but there's a pastor or a deaconess, you know. So yeah, the black church is very powerful, and it doesn't just have to be the black church. Any church, sweetheart, any race. When we talk about abuse, abuse doesn't care about your race.
Mm-hmm.
It's across the board. But right now we're talking about the disproportionate disadvantage
Yeah.
or tools for the black children. And that's why I refer to the black church. Again, the
Yes.
rock on which I stand. And that is absolutely where you can begin to find help. And it's just ask for help. I think we are afraid to ask for help. But
Yeah.
what this Black Lives Matter movement is doing is pulling back that veil. And we are
Yes.
all helping each other.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter shared with me a very important story. I was concerned about her marching, you know, but she's like, Mom, I've got to do it. And she shared with me that when she marched, this is how much the world is opening up about caring about one another. She said they could see the cops engaging, moving forward as the black
Mm-hmm.
children started to walk forward. And she said a group of Muslim women stepped in front of her and said, they said to one another, step in front of them. We are their shield. They won't hurt us. They're not looking for us right now. They will hurt them. So we're at a pivotal point in our history
Mm-hmm.
in time where all races are asking that it be recognized that Black lives matter.
Yes.
And my daughter shared with me that she saw that across the front lines, white, Muslim, you name it. They were throwing themselves in front of the Black movement, if you will, Black Lives Matter
Mm-hmm.
movement, to protect them so that it could continue. That's powerful. So I say to those who are shut in and abused, that type of caring is going on in this country right now. So if young child or young sister, brother, mother, father, uh, whomever is being abused, ask for help. You are not alone. And we are at one of the most difficult, but one of the most compassionate times in history for the human race in the United States, period.
Yeah, even though I see so much death and destruction and everything, I see a rise, something emerging through all of this. I see
Oh,
so many
yeah.
more people moving into their
You
heart
have
space,
to.
and realizing that I didn't realize this was happening. And I said,
Mhm.
your heart isn't breaking, it's being broken open so
That's
that
it.
we
I
can
love that.
yes, so that we can access this information that we always needed, and to get the
Yes.
healing that is finally, and it's so beautiful to watch that people finally get it and they understand. So I
We're
just
gonna
wanted to add that comment,
go ahead.
and then I want us to discuss what ways can we help people who are activist burnout. So for us, you're a PAVE ambassador and
Oh
you
my
do a
God.
lot of other work. So
Well, let's talk about it.
yes.
Self-care, you know, you've got to
Hmm.
take a break. You've got to take meditation and prayer.
Yes.
You need that time. You know, you will wear yourself thin, or you will wear out. You've got to recharge, reboot, lay down, be kind to yourself, so you can fight another day to
Hmm.
get this movement that we call that is Black Lives Matters on the forefront and make that change happen. But you've got to take care of yourself. A simple thing as, you know, just hydrating, you know, prayer, meditation, rebooting. It doesn't take much, you know, it doesn't take much. Yeah, you know, I've been quarantined right up in here with y'all. Look at these nails. I'm living in the realness, right?
Me
But
too.
and I'm loving it. I'm loving
Yeah.
it. But because, but every now and then, you know, come on, it's you got the human soul needs the connection of feeling good about itself in order to do good. So you have to take care of the soul, which is
Hmm.
yourself, in order to do
Hmm.
good for others. So just really take some time out for yourself. You don't have to be there every day. Your sister is there, your brother is there. We're still carrying on for one another. We're tag teaming on this movement called Black Lives Matter. You know,
Exactly.
so be kind to yourself because it ain't over. It's a long race we're running right now. And yeah, you certainly make sure medically you're healthy, you're eating well, and you're sleeping well. and
Yeah,
get
those
up.
root vegetables are very important. I know
I
there's not a lot of
know.
vegetarians, but to stay rooted to the earth,
Yes,
definitely root vegetables, the broccoli, the carrots, like
you're right.
anything.
Hmm.
It just
I mean,
make you feel whole because you really are what you eat. Because that's part of
we
it.
really are. And, I've been sampling with just eating vegetables, and I
Really.
compared, yeah, because I'm always trying to be an example to my adult children and my
Hmm.
husband who loves to just
Got to
eat.
keep them healthy.
I try, but I can tell you, I feel so much better when I eat from the earth and
Yeah.
exclude meat.
Hmm.
So if you can do that, if you can't do that, just choose fish.
Right.
I feel so much better, so much more energized. My skin glows.
Yeah, your
Yeah.
skin is gorgeous. Like you look really beautiful. I was like,
But
oh my
thank you, mommy.
goodness.
But so yeah, my mom, I often said great genes, but my mom ate well. She
Hmm.
she took care of herself. She was an example to us about eating from the earth. I am a farmer's daughter, which I'm extremely proud of. We've been in farming in my family for over 100 years. So
Wow.
yeah, so
And do you have
I
a
know.
garden now? Do you have a
I
COVID
do
garden?
not now, but you know what? I think I will after this because my
Yes.
grandmother had one of the most beautiful gardens I've ever seen, and I certainly know how to do it.
Hmm.
But yeah, I certainly know the importance of water. Water, people, water. Let's have water.
Hydrate. Yeah, that's why your skin is
Hydrate.
so illustrious and glowing because it's that H2O. We're mostly water. So
And we need it.
I want to open it up to any questions that anyone has during the feed, in this feed right now. But but while we wait for that to happen, we'll only have time for a few. So we're so grateful for your time, Karen, because you're a
Oh,
busy
thank
woman, and we're
you.
just so grateful. So I want to talk about this thing called boundaries,
Hmm.
and having and listening to your inner dialogue when it
Hmm.
comes to self-care as well.
Yeah, especially as mothers in this
Mm.
household. Hello.
Yeah, right.
We do it all. And we have to have boundaries that say, look, I know I do, that when I'm tired, my family is very supportive and very loving, but they're very human too. And they certainly love for mama to do it all, but mama get tired. And so my boundary is this: when I say I'm tired, I expect you to step in. We're living in a different time. We're all in this house together. And a simple act of, can you help me with the dishes? Can you wash the dishes so I can rest? Boundaries like, I need my prayer and meditation moment. Like if I get up at 10 o'clock in the morning, well, I'm sorry, 10 is late. I'm up at 7. But at 10 o'clock in the morning, I want my prayer time to be at 10. I need that to be respected by my family. And they understand that. And I just think it's just boundaries, and also boundaries with your friends because
Mm.
they're quite needy, and that can drain the spirit. That can drain the spirit, especially if they're like knocking their head up against the wall and not getting it. Some people you can't bring along. You just got to leave them where they at. I'm just saying, pick them up later. Let's pick them up after the pandemic, after we've achieved our goals with Black Lives Matter. I'm not a person that my boundaries are this: if you are a good person and you're willing to grow with me, I will grow with you. I find, especially for young people in their 20s and 30s, it's very frustrating because they're not all on the same sheet, but it's okay to say, sheet of music rather, but it's okay to say, look, my boundary is I've had enough. I'll see you on the other end of this. And it's okay because, again, you can't bring everyone along, and everybody's not going to be ready for their heart to open to this change as
Ooh,
quickly
yeah.
as
We're
it
gonna
needs
get
to.
some bounce back from this for sure. Like
Oh, we
we're
are
gonna get some
getting,
resistance, but
yes.
we have to keep persisting. Like it's
And, but that bounce back is so small. Have you noticed?
yes,
I mean, it's dangerous. It's very, very dangerous. It's very
for sure.
hurtful. And you and I, by the way, do need to call out those names that we talked about because we lost a sister today. Don't forget
Yes.
that. Um,
Tonya.
but the boundaries is with your friends. It's okay to let them go because they may not be your friend. If they're not lifting you up, let them go. So,
Ooh. I'm taking that advice. And what Karen was mentioning, we did lose a friend over the weekend. It was just announced today, Tonya and Salal.
hmm
So she was part of the Black Lives Matter movement,
I think she
and
was
is
19 years old. 19, right?
19 years old. And it stopped me when I got the call saying that this happened. Because again, I'm one of those people who I don't really watch the news. I tune in for like maybe maybe 5 minutes on top, because I'm like,
All I can
I
take.
found through this COVID that any necessary information I need to know, I'll know without watching the news. So,
Exactly.
but we just want to like just give her some love, and just we have to continue the movement with her. And I'm just so sad that she's become a hashtag too, you know?
Yes,
So,
me too.
hmm
She was murdered, from what I
yeah,
understand. Um, and she was a sexual assault survivor. And I believe she had spoken and shattered the silence. And this is the time in which we are living, though. And she fought for us, and we will continue to fight for her. Now we pick up her charge. She did not die in vain.
yeah, she did not. That is very, very true. And thank you. A couple of people said rest in peace to her. So
Yes.
I just want to give her some love. When I found that out this morning, it just kind of stopped me, and I'm like, she was a little girl, like just 4 years older than when I spoke up. When I spoke up,
Mm.
I just became silent. I was 15 for me, and I just became silent after regarding that, because I thought for the longest time that it was my fault. But getting educated and learning more, you just know that.
It's not your fault,
Mm-mm.
and it ends with you and your
Yes, it
family.
does.
Because you,
Yes.
even God forbid, if it happened to another member of your family, you've given it voice.
So
And go
we do
ahead.
have a really good question. It says, how would you explain Black Lives Matter to those who keep insisting on talking about all lives matter? And then also explaining, I want to tag on to say, what kind of things do you say to little people, the young kids about this, about what they are seeing? So there's a double-edged question there.
Ooh. Well, where do we start? Educating people. We're not saying that others' lives don't matter, but
Hmm.
we're saying that disproportionately so, black folk, black men are being killed in the street by a justice system that which is unjust. We're saying that it's not okay. We're
Hmm.
saying that yes, that black life that was just snuffed out matters.
Yes.
And it also matters that we don't get paid the same salary and we're educated just like you. These things have got to change. So we're talking about the disproportionate, what's the word I'm looking for? God help me with this. But the racism, the systemic racism that has, one, kept us from getting paid the same salary, two, from stopping us from being murdered in the street by the justice system we pay the taxes for,
Hmm.
three,
Opportunities for loans.
opportunity.
Yeah.
So this is why Black Lives
Yes.
Matter. And I'm not saying your life doesn't matter, because it's going to take all of our lives to make sure that the message of Black Lives Matters is addressed. The movement is addressed, and the
Hmm.
issues are resolved. It's inhumane what we face as a Black race. Uh,
Yes, definitely.
I am a mother of a Black man. And I remember having to tell my son, if you ever are pulled over, I don't want you to question, just put your hands on the dashboard. And if you can't understand what I'm saying through this, I hope you feel my pain or the fear I have, because I love my son just as much as you love yours. He has a right to live. But I said, if you ever, even for a traffic stop, put your hands on the dashboard. He experienced that. And he came back and
Mm.
he thanked us because he knew what to do. Now, you tell me every race has to do that with their male child? I don't think so.
No. Yeah.
So, because of that, Black Lives Matter, and we've got to make it. I wish, hey, look, I wish it were different, but it's not.
Yeah, I wish we weren't having this type of
I
conversation. I
wish
would
we were
much
not
rather
having this
be
type
talking
of
about your
conversation.
makeup game and like how beautiful. I would much rather be talking about that. But here we
Yeah.
are talking
Oh,
about something.
right.
We're
But
talking
we
about
have
this.
to
We're
talk
here.
about this.
Mm-hmm.
We have to, because we care about our children. I
Yes.
care about my children. I care about my grandchildren that haven't been born yet and their children.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
hoping to be an old granny, okay?
Yes.
But I
Right.
have a right to have that hope, unless
Mm-hmm.
called home naturally, okay? To
Yes.
my father's house. Just saying. So I don't want to say that others' lives don't matter. It does. But in this particular instance,
Mm-hmm.
where we're addressing systemic racism, Black Lives Matter.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to piggyback on that tag question. What do we say to the little ones? And then someone added in the feed about she is a white mother and she has a mixed race child. How does she explain it to them? So this is talking about the little ones again.
Well, you know what? The little one, you just have to be honest, but be
Yes.
gentle. I've always talked to my children. They are now 23 and they're going to be 23 and 33. But I've always been honest with my children about all subjects. And this is a very painful subject. And, I have interracial family marriages in my family, and we just simply talk about it honestly. And we live in a world that doesn't just, doesn't judge you because of this brown skin you're in. A lot of people do. But how you rise to the occasion and address their ignorance about that is where we win, if you think about it. And that comes from the mother and the father, the parents of these interracial children. Children, period. Children are taught to be racist. They're not born racist.
Exactly.
So it starts at
Sure.
home. Start with the heart. Open the heart. Have a heart that is open, and the discussion will flow, and the honesty will flow to your child, and your child will pick up that goodness and carry on your legacy. That's, I think, hate and racism is taught. Period. And we need to stop teaching it.
That is so beautiful. I wish we had more time for all these questions that were being asked,
Oh,
but I do want to, there's a more question. They say they know it's off topic, but they kind of want to know what's going on with the Real Housewives of Potomac this
oh,
season.
you
We
know
got
what?
that question. So
Even in the pandemic, we have to address that. Look, I can tell you, we are coming at you. Real Housewives of Potomac will be coming at you midsummer. I can't give you a date. It is so worth the wait. It's fire. It's on fire, as we normally are. Okay, even in the pandemic, we might, hey, it'll be worth the wait. And we love you and thank you for your support and thank you for asking, guys. This pandemic has shaken up many schedules. I don't know about you. So I'm glad that our viewers have something to look forward to this summer.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know. And there is one more question that someone asked if you, well, two more. One
Okay.
is that because I didn't want to ignore a woman earlier in the feed mentioned that her son loves the police. And so
Yes.
she doesn't know how to explain that, this whole situation that's going on with him, which is very interesting, I find. And then
What's
there's nothing wrong with loving.
it's nothing wrong with the police are not our enemy. Their
Right.
education, the way they've been trained, is the enemy. We let me put this out here. No one asked this, but I don't say we just defund the police. I say we remold the police. We re-educate the police. Because they do a great service, and I know a lot of good cops. Unfortunately, as they say, one bad apple can spoil the whole picture, if you will. But not all cops are bad. I think that mother has to have a discerning presence when she's in the presence of a cop. A mother knows when her cub is being threatened. I'm just saying. This go with your common sense and your gut feeling on that one. But to have her son love the cops, nothing is wrong with that.
Yes.
Nothing is wrong with that because one cop does not speak for all cops. One cop's action does not speak for all cops' actions, in my opinion.
So I just want to, before we wrap up here, I just want to make sure that we touch in on some of the resources that people can go to for support during this time. Like if you know anybody that's experiencing any sort of abuse, domestic or anything, Karen, can you please share that? Because you shared a number earlier.
Well, actually, it's 1-800-656-HOPE. You can call that number. Also, you can go online to PAVE University. I keep going back and forth. PAVE University and shatterthesilence.org. There is a wealth of information on these websites that will immediately have one feel as though they have someone walking with them through the storm that they are facing. So all of these websites are available. Again, that number again, 1-800-656-HOPE.
Yes, so beautiful. And then maybe we could let this last question squeeze in. But someone said, "What's next for Karen?" Like just like they just want to know what's
You know
next.
what? It's wonderful that they asked that because today I was just meditating and God said it ain't over yet. So he's not done with me yet. I'm just open now. And as I would encourage many of I have a few fans to be open to whatever, because the change is a coming. You know, if you look at the businesses that are closed today, many of them will not open again. So what are you doing? My thing is to call to arms, you know, the young folk and say, look, create your own, have your own your own company. This is the time. No matter what it is, brand yourself. So I will be leading by example and continuing to brand myself and to do whatever I can to be an example and you know, on this journey of entrepreneurship. And yeah, I'm not done yet.
No,
Not
you're
done.
not.
No.
You just started.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's like, I can't wait, because you said being in that full moon. I'm about to get my woo woo on really quick,
Yeah.
but you're in the full moon glory of your life, like where you are the
It
mother,
really is. We
and
live in
you're
a very,
helping. And we just had a full moon just about 10
yeah.
days ago or so. But that's the full moon, like helping the little ones and supporting the little ones and being a voice for the voiceless.
Yeah.
So again, like I can't commend you, because you could choose to spend your time doing other things and focusing on other causes, but to come back and lead that hand and say, hey, you do have a voice and you do matter. In the midst of all of this, we still need to talk about this,
Yes.
shattering the silence, even in our community, even talking about it
Absolutely.
in our own community, having those uncomfortable conversations. So
Again, you know, if we're wrapping it up, any child or male or female that's being abused, say something. We're
say
here.
something.
Reach out. You're not alone. It could shave off years of, you know, blaming yourself for what is not your fault.
Well, that is the most beautiful and perfect way to close. I
Perfect.
welcome everybody to say something, and thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Karen Huger. You guys can follow her at official Karen Huger on
Yeah.
Instagram. And thanks for joining us, and thanks for
Thank you for
watching.
having me. I appreciate
Yes.
it. All
Thank
right.
you so much. God bless
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.